Welcome to College Football Monday, a Sons of Saturday live show brought to you by Jack and Coke. I'm your host, Pete B, and Sam is tied up tonight, but I will have a couple of guests in just a little bit. Like we always do on the show, this is our national coverage, so we're going to get into everything that happened this past weekend in college football, including a heavy dose of what the Hokies were up to down in Atlanta. I wish I had gone just a little bit better. Just a little bit better would have been nice, but we'll break it all down. We're going to recap week one. And we also want to discuss something that we saw on X this week. If you were a top flight quarterback, 5-star coming out of high school, where would you want to go? What would be the factors? I'm going to discuss that with my two guests a little bit later, and I'm going to save my cheers for when they hop on. If you have any questions, hop in the chat and pose them. I'll make sure I have that pulled up and we can get the questions answered. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube, which you should be, because this is a live show, which will get posted to the pod feed later. Week one, guys. One of the most action-packed week ones I can remember. Now, not all of the games lived up to the hype. We had 5 days of college football, and I will say, the last day in particular did not live up to the hype whatsoever. We will talk about Bill Belichick and his debut down in Keenan. It did not go good. Not good at all. Lee Corso's final show, I need to start with this, was on Saturday. He was in the full tux, and Coach saved one of his finest calls for last because he picked that FSU upset, and all of the schools that he coached or played at won on Saturday. So I thought that was a really cool nugget. ESPN had the graphic. What a career he had. And then we also had the kid who hit the field goal later on for $250,000. Great College Game Day episode. And cheers to the legend. Again, I'll do my cheers with my two guests. As for the AP poll, the new one is out. It dropped around 2 o'clock today. Ohio State, new number 1. No mystery there. Penn State, number 2. LSU, number 3. UGA 4, and Miami Hurricanes up to number 5. Texas drops to 7, Clemson 8, Notre Dame 9, and South Carolina, the Gamecocks, up to a number 10 ranking in the AP poll. Let's talk about how we got there. I'm going to start with Florida State shocking Alabama, 31-17. Tommy C walked the walk after he talked the talk. That was what I didn't think was going to happen. I thought Bama would crush him, make him pay for his comments. Well, man, oh man, did he live up to it? Did Gus live up to it as the offensive coordinator for the Noles? Bama started with that long drive, 17 plays, 75 yards. They went up 7-0. But FSU put up 24 unanswered points, ran the ball super effectively. Castellanos with 78 rushing yards, a TD on only 16 carries. 230 rush yards as a team on the ground, 4.7 a carry. Simpson just wasn't very good for Bama throwing the ball. Maybe a reason why he wasn't able to beat out Milroe, who we know had his issues and was a great runner. But Ty Simpson, it could be a long season down in Tuscaloosa. A lot of short stuff, only 5.9 yards per attempt, 43 passes. Too many for a guy like that. Way too many for a guy like that. Just 23 of 43. Bama had some push in the game early, but they really couldn't run it. Just 87 yards for them, 3.0 yards per carry. So just barely 3 yards a carry for them. And this wasn't a fluke. This wasn't a game where FSU had some crazy special teams play and blocked a kick or whatever and then won. This was a pretty dominant performance in Doak, which was going absolutely crazy. Major questions for Bama. DeBoer. I don't know what's going to happen here, but there is no way I'm putting them in my playoff 12 at the end of this episode. When we get there, we'll talk about who might be jumping into my playoff rankings. Alabama themselves dropped to number 21 in the AP poll. 21. They were the team that put. So the committee, if you go back to 2013, committee puts Bama in and they screw over Florida State, right? Like Jordan Travis, the undefeated season, he gets hurt. They take him out. Bama's the team they put in under them. over them. Then they have the year from hell last year, 2-10. So to do this, it is just a massive win for that program. And this Gus magic that he has over Alabama at this point is comical. The Gus bus is back. Castellanos is back to the old him, one of the emerging quarterbacks we thought we had in the ACC 2 years ago. Bill O'Brien took what he did best out of him. Gus is putting it right back in. And they could be a factor. So huge win for Florida State, huge win for Norvell on a multitude of levels, getting that program maybe back on track in 2025. Ohio State and Texas. The Buckeyes did just enough versus Arch Manning, and number one Texas winning 14-7. It was a long day for Manning. He really struggled with his accuracy, just 17 for 30 for 170 and an interception, 5.7 yards per attempt for Arch. And they had the stat on First Take about how he was off target on 37% of his throws or something. It was one of the worst performances from a Texas quarterback in 10 seasons, something like that. So I know Ohio State has a great defense. And I know they lost their defensive coordinator too, but that is an absolutely loaded defense. Going into the shoe, first start, it probably wasn't going to go all that great, but as it was, Arch wasn't good, and the team around him, they could have done him more favors. Absolutely could have done him more favors. Ohio State themselves struggled on offense. They were only up 7-0 at the half, and early in the third, Texas drove all the way down the field, and they had that shot at the 1-yard line a couple different times, couldn't get it in, got stuffed. They had another turnover on downs inside the 10 before finally getting into the end zone with 4 minutes left. So they were down, 14-7 at that point, and they had a last-ditch effort. That fell short at the 50, and the Buckeyes were able to run out the clock. Ohio State had the lowest post-game win expectancy of any week one winning team. 18% post-game win expectancy for Ohio State, mainly because Texas was 1 of 5 on fourth downs. I mean, Texas was able to move the football at times. They had a chance at the end, but I mean, they outgained them significantly. I think, Ohio State only had 203 yards of offense. Texas was in the 330s, 5 more first downs for the Longhorns. So Ohio State escaped a little bit in this one. Now, they made the plays when it counted. They stuffed those fourth downs when it counted, but this is probably a pretty good Texas team. If Arch can come along, that defense, both the defenses they're national championship caliber, I would say. But we need to see more from that Texas offense on a consistent basis, and it's going to start with Arch Manning. I'm not going to overreact to one game played in the shoe against they were defending national champs and that defense, but failing in critical spots for Arch and Sark, it's got to burn this week. It's got to burn. So we'll see how the Golden Boy bounces back. It's going to be a long, long week of talk in Austin. But for the Buckeyes, it's a win over number one, despite how it looked. I mean, you don't need to apologize for maybe winning a little ugly, and they did. So cheers to Ryan Day, putting the doubters down yet again. Even if he winning the national championship wasn't enough, he goes out and beats number one in week one the following year. So pretty good second act there. Miami hangs on to beat Notre Dame 27-24 with a late field goal. It was 21-7 Miami entering the fourth. So though Notre Dame cut it to 10 right away, it was then, wait, hold on a second. It was 21-7 entering the fourth. Notre Dame cut it to 10 right away in the fourth, but then it was 24-14 with just 10 minutes left. And to Miami's credit, after the Irish, back-to-back drives to tie it up, Miami went right down the field with the help of a PI call, and they got a field goal to win the game. Davis hits the 47-yarder, and they were able to close it out on defense. Carson Beck was good in this one. His Hurricanes debut, there were questions around him, and he had the injury late in the year in the playoffs last year. How was he going to look for Miami in game one? Well, he might have not been great, but he was really, really good. 205, 2 touchdowns, and nearly 85 QBR. And we know that ND defense is legit. Notre Dame has a good defense. Marcus Freeman knows how to coach defense. So they were able to, Miami was able to just kind of commit to the run and use that. And they did enough there. I would say I was also impressed with CJ Carr. That's a tough place to play in week 1, too. Maybe it's not the shoe, but at night in Hard Rock, that's a really tough place to win. And he brought him back. 19 of 30, 221 yards, 3 total touchdowns, and a pick. Only 10 carries for Jeremiah Love, which is what stands out from the box score, right? This guy, potential Heisman candidate, maybe the best running back in the draft for next year. And they gave it to him 10 times. Why? So what's Denbrock seeing that we're not seeing, that you're not going to give your brand new starting quarterback some help with the run game by giving Jeremiah Love more than 10 carries? That was one of the more surprising things. But I will say, in spite of that, CJ Carr played good. Gigantic win for the Canes, who had plenty of questions coming in. Roster is loaded. And if they really found a guy in Malachi Toney, he's a true freshman, and he was only a 3-star on the 247 in-house. True freshman comes in, leading receiver in this game. If he's a hit, if CJ Daniels, who came over from Liberty and LSU, if he's a hit, and Keelan Marion is a hit, look out, because these Canes are going to be a major problem if they can replace all the skill talent they had walk out at the wide receiver position, because that was one of the areas that I was concerned about with them. If they have those guys, it could be a really big year down there. Now it's Miami. They are very hard to trust, and it's game 1. But beating Marcus Freeman, who I think has solidified himself as one of the better coaches in college football in a short period of time, this was big for the ACC, big for Mario Cristobal, and we'll talk about the ACC aspect of it a little bit more later. Tennessee took down Syracuse in Atlanta the day before our game, 45-26. Nothing surprising here. The Vols got out to a big lead before Q's showed some signs of life. Aguilar looked good, 280-plus total yards, 495 yards of offense for Tennessee overall. Their defense gave up more yards than I expected. I really didn't expect Syracuse to score very many points, but they did have 5 sacks and 7 TFL, and the game was so out of hand early that, I don't know, it's hard to blame Tennessee for letting off the gas just a little bit there. So I think Syracuse will be okay. I didn't think they were going to really compete in this game, and they really didn't, but they will find a way. Angeli's going to have a nice little year for them. The running back Willis put up 91 yards and a touchdown, or 3 touchdowns, and they definitely have some receiving talent in Syracuse. So I think regardless of the way it started, I came away from this game thinking Tennessee is what I kind of thought they were, and Syracuse is probably a little bit better than I thought they were. So that's all I have to say about that one. We're going to bring in Robert Irby, who is in attendance for LSU and Clemson, in just 1 minute. But I want to talk about the UNC game first, because this was a spectacular faceplant for Bill Belichick. And who could have seen this coming? I could have. I went back in my bag of tweets, searching at BVT, finding Bill Belichick tweets and posting them last night. Like, when you have a chance to go out and hire a 72-year-old head coach after he's been declining and no NFL team wants him, you just have to do it, right? This was never going to work, and I know it's game 1, but TCU's no world beater. Bill Belichick specializes in defense. They got carved up, absolutely carved up by Josh Hoover and Sonny Dykes, who, yes, a couple years ago, Sonny Dykes hit the Magic, and they went to the national championship. But I think we know that TCU is a little bit of an in-between program, and they went into Keenan and they wiped the floor with them. It's really funny because the way it started, it's like, oh crap, Gio Lopez, they go down the field, they score. He didn't have another completed pass for over 2 hours in the game. And then they had to take him out, and they brought in Max Johnson. And I'll say, once they brought in Johnson, they actually did a little something. He was 9 of 11 for 103 and a touchdown. But UNC had 50 yards rushing. The offense was pitiful. The defense was worse. TCU had 258 yards on the ground. Not even something they're particularly known for. So UNC got shredded on the ground. They got shredded through the air. It was fun to watch. As a UNC hater and, a Tech fan who we've gone up against these battles with them, knowing what they invested in Bill Belichick and Mike Lombardi, and they're going to bring this NFL approach to college football. This was a monumental failure, especially when you compare it to Colorado just 2 years ago, also playing TCU and Colorado winning the game at home. And the Tar Heels just getting pasted at home in game one. So I know he's a Hall of Famer. I know he's got the Super Bowls with Tom Brady, by the way. But that doesn't mean you can just walk into college football and win. And so I'm glad they sold a lot of season tickets. I'm glad they got all this coverage. But I'll tell you what, in a month from now, if they're going to be as bad as I think they probably are, Keenan's going to be just as empty in October as it normally is. And that board of trustees watching that game last night, I guarantee you it was not a fun time. Not a fun time whatsoever. So I'm loving it. I honestly love it. So screw the Heels. They blew it. They blew their shot to do something impressive, have a little fun. There were so many celebrities in attendance. But yeah, that was that. And I think that's probably the end of the UNC story for the year. Maybe it works down the road. Maybe. But I really doubt it. I think this thing was doomed to fail from the start. And Bill is not going to be long for this if they put out more performances like the one we just saw. All right, who do I have here in the chat? I've got Hokie Nation 5423. I get it's a recap, but how do you feel about the Vandy game? I think me and the guys will discuss the Vandy game a little bit at the end. We're also going to be doing that with Sam in way more depth tomorrow night. Me and Sam will do our normal Hokies Under the Influence show tomorrow night, but early feeling on Vandy, just while I'm sitting here talking about it. I like the way our D-line played, and I think that will have a huge impact on the Vandy game. I'm nervous to say shit after what I just went through with my prediction with South Carolina, but it's a home game at night. Like, after what they did to us last year in Vanderbilt, you got to have it. My feel in the game, I'm still kind of working through that based on what we saw on Sunday, but we got to have it. We really, really got to have it. Let me add Coach Holmes to the screen here because he is going to be joining us tonight. Mike, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Let me make sure I got you loud and clear. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Clemson game with me before Robert joins?
Oh, absolutely. First off, what a game. Man, that was a – first off, no, I don't think a lot of people outside of Baton Rouge really saw that coming. I don't even think a lot of people in Baton Rouge really saw that coming.
No,
I think they were hoping to keep it close, to be honest with you. And what they decided, what they ended up doing was doing what everybody hoped that they would, was, play really solid defense for the first time in about 5 years.
And get a win in one of those first games and the first time in what felt like forever. And make sure, Mike, do me one favor real quick. Check your settings. Make sure your mic is the correct input that you want. Because I feel like if you got your AirPods in, maybe select that, or are you using the computer mic? While you do that,
I got LSU. I got the boom here, so it should be that. But you want me to go through the AirPods?
No. Go through whatever mic you think is better.
Okay. Yeah. As long as it sounds good on your end.
It sounds good now. Yeah. Keep it close to your mouth. Okay. LSU goes into Dabo's house and gets the W, 17-10. The pressure valve on Brian Kelly's tenure released just a little bit there, because it was, if he didn't get this one, it might have turned some feelings a little bit about him. They're already not great, but this, it changes the expectations for LSU and everything else. Clemson was up 10-3 at the half, but LSU capitalized off the missed field goal with a touchdown to tie it up. And then Cade threw an interception on the next drive to none other than Mansour Delane, who got the game ball after the game. So that hurts a little bit as Hokies fans. But then LSU missed their own field goal. So it was a little touch and go there. LSU went ahead 17-10 in the fourth on the pass to Green. It was a nice long drive that Clemson just couldn't answer. They failed on 2 fourth downs in LSU territory at the end of the game. Nussmeier was solid going up against a very good defense. I'd say huge win for LSU, BK. I mean, that goes without saying. In the environment at night as underdogs. And for Clemson, the flag bearer for the ACC, like this was a bad result. This really was a bad result. They could not run at all. The hype about Klubnik and him making that Heisman run, man, did he look bad. Like, what was going on with him?
But here's the thing. I don't think with any of these games that we're going to talk about, and I think a lot of people have been saying this, if you've been listening to the blogosphere and everybody else, I don't think any of these teams should be punished for playing these big time games early on if they came out on the losing side. Because all of these high profile games were, for the lack of a better term, I mean, one, they're high profile games, but two, it shows some stones to be able to play this competition early on. And you're not playing the 1AA teams and the FCS teams, the break-in games.
Mm-hmm.
To have, and I don't think really necessarily Klubnik played that bad. I think really it's more that LSU played really, really well.
You could spin it like that.
It wasn't really a blowout,
No, it was not a blowout, but 50% completion, sub 40 QBR. Like his QBR was worse than Kyron Drones, who we know didn't have a great day.
Yeah.
So just one rush yard. Like we know Klubnik to be that kind of dynamic playmaker with his legs too. And I just felt like this was a pretty big, like, this was shocking too. Like the FSU game was shocking, but Klubnik looking like he did in game 1 against Georgia last year, that's what I found shocking.
And when we get to the VT corner too, I'll go in more in depth about my philosophy on why Klubnik maybe only had 1 rushing yard, because it goes into when we get into drones, but yeah, I think that kind of plays into a little bit of that factor as well. Some of the design runs I think just weren't there either. Especially for a guy like Dabo, the end goal for a lot of these teams, it's 14 weeks away.
Yep.
So
you're right. Everything, and I haven't made a point of saying that yet, but like maybe I have said it's week 1, but with that comes things can change drastically. I just mentioned the Georgia Clemson game, and then look what Clemson did last year throughout the year. Klubnik looked awful, and then he became a dark horse Heisman candidate by the end of the season. So that could happen again this year. Yeah. There are a lot of things that are going to change after week 1. It's a very weird week. Anyone who follows college football knows that. You'll see things one week and then something can change drastically. So it's too early to write off Clemson at all. I mean, obviously, it's way too early to write off Clemson. LSU themselves could be a title contender, right? Like they could be the best team in the SEC. We really don't know.
The SEC is the most wide open that I've seen it probably in the last, probably 10 years, 15 years since Bama started their run in 2009. Probably the most wide open it's been.
It's very wide open. The odds would say the same thing.
Yeah.
My last point on Clemson would be, while we are not dismissing them as potential ACC champs this year, since they've lost Trevor Lawrence, the tier that they play in college football seems to have come down. Like that would be my thing, is that they play in these games and they are not competing the way they used to. And like, cause 5 years ago, there's no chance LSU wins this game in Clemson, South Carolina. And last year when Georgia wiped them, like that wouldn't have happened 5 years ago, but it's happening now. And I just think they've taken a step back. Dabo did use the portal a little bit more this year, but there are gaps on that roster, areas that they could certainly be better, and they're not. because they aren't taking 20 transfers. And part of me really respects that. But I do think you're doing your team a disservice by not filling the gaps the way other teams do. Because I think they could be better and still be that national title contender. As it stands now, I don't think they can win the national title. Like, if you can't beat LSU at home, you're probably not winning the national title, because you're going to have to face them or a team just as good as them at a neutral site multiple times to win the Natty. So that's my kind of overarching point on Clemson.
Yeah, and I think what you're also seeing too is that teams can change from the first drive of the game to the second drive of the game. I mean, you saw it from North Carolina yesterday. You saw it from South Carolina in our game. You know, they can look like world beaters in their opening drive and then can't run their way through a wet paper bag in the second drive. You know, so and
that happened a lot
so,
around the country this past week.
Yes,
for sure.
When you're running the same same plays scripted for 25 days in a row, of course you're going to execute them immaculately. Hopefully that's the goal, right? Now, in Virginia Tech's case, we did have a lot of injuries and we had a lot of, things that happened in our preseason camp that prohibited that, I believe, on our side of things. But the team, the things that you want to see as a coach, your biggest growth happens from week 1 to week 2. After you get that first game under your belt. So I think Clemson, what you're going to see them do, I believe they play, I think they play Wofford next week, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they got Troy, I think.
Troy, correct. Yeah. And then, so I think you'll see what they do against Troy, and Troy's no slouch. That's a solid program.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see what they'll do, the team with a little bit of speed. But I think you'll see them handle them pretty well in a less pressure-filled environment. It'll probably be a noon kick in Death Valley, and it'll be probably a little easier for them to handle. Less pressure.
Yeah, I hear that. All right, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. As I said at the top of the show, College Football Monday is brought to you by Jack and Coke. 2 legends, 1 can, Jack and Coke. The #1 cocktail in the world is now available in a can. Yes, it's true. And it's not only available in a can, it's available in multiple flavors in a can. You can get Jack and Cherry Coke. You can get Jack and Vanilla Coke. You can get Jack and Ginger. They got Jack and Blackberry coming out. So make sure you're checking these out at your local grocery and convenience stores. 2 legends, 1 can, Jack and Coke. They're a great sponsor. And I enjoy a good high-quality Jack and Coke every now and again, Mike. One of the first things most of us drank back in the day, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
All right, we're still waiting for Irby, but that's okay. We're going to get started with I think I see him popping in the chat right now. Okay, Mike, one last thing. You're good on your mic. Get your head straight in the center. You're good. You don't have to be as close as I said. There you go.
Yeah, I can adjust my camera.
Yeah, you can relax. You can relax. Let's get Irby in here. All right, here we go. Robert Irby now joins the flow here. We were all together this past weekend in Atlanta, taking in the Virginia Tech game, even sitting in the same row in the stadium for a period of time. We're going to get into VT Corner right now. Hokies go down to South Carolina, 24-11. And as Mike just alluded to, they knew those scripted plays, and they went right down the field on the Hokies defense, capping off with a 15-yard touchdown run by Lenora Sellers. The place kind of went wild. It was a really nice drive by them. But after that, our defense did tighten, and we managed to move the ball a little bit. Unfortunately, Kyron had the bad interception at the end of a decent drive, and it was kind of an unnecessary throw forced into some coverage. But it ended up turning into a safety for us. So there was a little bit of a working in our favor on that. And both teams out of the field goal made it 10-8 at the half. It stayed 10-8 for a long time. And then the fourth quarter started. And that's when, the worst fears were realized with an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown by Vicari Swain. Beamer ball in the wrong direction. We responded with a field goal after a 9-play drive to make it 11-17, but Sellers came right back with the bomb to Harbor. Game over, 24-11 Gamecocks. If you guys could sum up your immediate reactions following the game in about one sentence or a phrase, I'll give you a second to think about it. What would yours be, Robert?
If you've ever played golf, you might spend a lot of time slicing the ball and trying to fix your slice, and you're working for a whole month trying to fix your slice, and you feel like you finally got it, and then suddenly you can't putt worth a shit. That's how it felt for Virginia Tech. It doesn't matter what it is, man. It's just that one thing just goes wrong. Those 3 or 4 plays that you wish you had back, and that's just kind of been the MO here for the last few years. Sorry, that was more than a sentence.
No, that's all good. Mike, what would you say as a sum up of your immediate reaction?
If I just breathe is
okay.
There's a lot of over the top, just knee jerk reactions, and there's a lot of like things that you read in the Twitter sphere and everything else, and just breathe, y'all. It's Chicken Little, the sky's not falling.
A lot of fans came away from the game feeling okay. I would say the reaction on X and what I've read in articles and stuff, it just seemed to feel that the fan base as a whole was kind of like, oh, that didn't go as bad as I thought it was going to go. And they came away feeling okay. And that is a reflection of where we're at as a program, what happened last year and the disappointment, losing all of those guys to the draft. And I don't know if that makes me feel worse or better that was the reaction of the fan base. But I think for right now, I'll take that. I will take that not being super negative after the game was like, okay, like Ed Williams, one of the guys we work with, I think he upped his record prediction for the season after he saw what we did, which is kind of funny. And I'm going to ask you guys about that in a little bit. Mike, you do the Hokie hitter for us. When you were watching the game, was there anything schematically that we did that stood out to you that you thought was particularly good or bad? Or like, what would you have focused on this week in your hitter if it was a full week?
If there was, and unfortunately, just with time constraints and everything, and work and getting out of the way, I have to go to California tomorrow morning, so it's going to be,
good,
So, but not going to happen this week, unfortunately. But one thing that I'm a little bit of a masochist, so I went back and watched the film when I got back home yesterday. Watched the game over again. One thing I saw in particular, especially on. It's really prevalent on the interception that drones through in the end zone. And I know that the first thing people want to look at is, oh, yeah, he underthrew the ball and it was an easy pick. 2 things on that play. Number one, there's a guy streaking wide open in the back of the end zone. So if you go back and see what he was looking to throw to, there's a guy there. Still shouldn't have thrown the ball, but you go back and you see, okay, why are there 3 defenders? Why are there 3 defenders in the play? Our scramble drill was horrible. So in a normal scramble drill, you are taught, you're teaching your receivers, okay, if you have the deep route, you got to come back towards the line of scrimmage. Okay. If you have the shallow route, you want to run deep. Okay. If you got the crosser, you're going to work back towards the middle of the field. Okay. The goal of that being you're the defender that's on you, you're getting them out of the way and you're trying to confuse people. Okay. So the short guy goes deep guy comes in, out guy comes back in, vice versa. Okay. So all of our guys just went deep. So you had the short running back Hawkins, who I don't know how much scramble drill they ran. Was it Central Missouri? I don't know how much scramble drill they ran with him. He turned up the field and ran deep. So his defender was back there. You had the guy that was the deep guy in the middle that was running across the back of the end zone. His defender was back there. Then, of course, you had, I believe it was Gosnell he was trying to hit. His defender was right there too.
A lot of bodies.
A lot of bodies just crammed in one spot. So, realistically speaking, you got drones who's rolling out, and now it becomes scramble drill. So running back is actually doing the right thing. Now that deep guy who's at the goal line needs to be coming back and working back towards the ball. And so now that takes defenders out of the way. Now maybe that throw from drones is a little bit easier for him to hit. So again, it's not all cut and dry. Oh my God, Drones is the worst quarterback ever. He makes horrible decisions and blah, blah, blah. Let's throw him out and throw Pop Watson in. So again, it's those, and we did this a few times. Like, so when Drones gets out of the pocket, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to make the big, huge game-winning miracle play, and so everybody just starts running deep, and that's not the idea, And so, and maybe we're just young, maybe we're just inexperienced, and maybe we only have a couple of guys who really truly know what they're doing, and that's live bullets firing.
I mean, that reminds me of the Miami game, Mike. Like, with the way you described that, and didn't Aiden Green have the comebacker in the Miami game, and we scored the touchdown, and Drones was scrambling, and that's like what I'm picturing.
Career,
yeah, it was a fantastic throw, and he feels like he can make any throw. He's got a cannon for an arm, and it was a poor decision on his part, but that perspective is very much appreciated.
And so, but we did, and we executed it really well on the one where he just missed Aiden Green, over the top. Now, again, he's running forward in the pocket, and he's throwing it off the wrong foot, and on the run, and a lot of throws on the run, and that's because he's getting chased down. South Carolina's interior linemen were 320 and 327. I mean, they're just, and then you got Stewart chasing around from the outside, and we're not going to see another defensive line like that. Miami's not even that big. Reuben Bain's not as big as those guys they got in the middle there.
I will say I'm more nervous about them now than I was a week ago. I'll tell you what.
But that
was definitely one of the best units we're going to see by a long shot.
By a long shot. Now, granted, we were worried about them. Who were they going to replace? They had Tonka Hemingway gone and Kennard was gone, but they backfield pretty well.
They got dudes.
Obviously.
They got dudes. All right, let's take a minute to let me show this on the screen. This is from Thomas Train. I missed the game on Sunday and didn't get to watch or listen, so this will be valuable. Well, we're going to try to do our best, Thomas. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the comment. And before I ask you guys just a couple more questions, because I got to get the good reflections, I got to get the bad reflections. Before we do the good stuff, does one of you guys want to give me a cheers? Because I didn't do the cheers before you came on because I needed my buddies here. Rob, you want to do it?
Sure. Before I do, I will open the beer that I'm drinking, which is the we'll go ahead and do the beer. It's the Old Mecklenburg Mecktoberfest. It is just Old Mecklenburg Classic Brewery in Charlotte, but it's German. It's a German brewery, so the Mecktoberfest is a classic. But the reason why I wanted to do it is it's a pull tab bottle opener. So I thought I'd see if we can, if this would sound pretty good on the microphone.
How smooth can you do it? Yeah, come on, let's see it. Oh, we got a little something there.
There you go.
Build a little, but.
And we also had cheers, buddy. We also had the German.
Cheers to Old Mecklenburg, I guess. Yeah.
Cheers to that, yeah.
And cheers to Oktoberfest, and fall beers.
We were back, man. We were back on Sunday before the game because we were at a German beer garden as the tailgate with Sons of Saturday. And Rob, you were there. We took in a bunch of Dunkels and whatnot while we were waiting. Marzens, Dunkels, Pilsners. We had them all. And man, that was a fun time. Hefeweizens, yeah. That was a fun time, dude. And then we got to see everybody at the game. So that was really cool too. All right, so this is a good question. What made you guys feel encouraged about the team or season from what you saw on Saturday? And Rob, I'll start with you and then come back to Mike.
I think that pass rush is just going to be nasty all year long. And to me, it was about the depth of it because, last year, obviously APR is the best pass rusher we've had maybe since Darryl Tapp, but or Jason Worlds, but behind him, there wasn't much. Same with Peebles, but now it's you're rotating in so many guys. Elijah Fall's coming in off in that second rotation, and he had arguably the filthiest move on the left tackle and the guard where he split both of them. Yeah, and that's not even your main edge. He's backing up Jonkum. And so I think that that just shows that we're going to be getting after the quarterback and we're going to be doing it consistently. There's really not going to be that lull of all right, 56 is out of the game. Let's. We got some time here. That's not going to happen this year.
So Rob goes with the pass rush defensive line. What do you got, Mike?
So again, another controversial issue from where I was sitting because of his stats didn't really show it. we asked last year, at the end of the year last year, one thing we needed to see from number one was that he was going to be able to stand in the pocket and able to increase his intermediate passing game. Not necessarily the deep ball, will improve on the deep ball, but also improve in the intermediate passing game. And when he had a clean pocket, he was throwing dots. He was I believe PFF graded him in a clean pocket at 90. He was at a 90% grade with a clean pocket.
Wow. Okay.
And so when we were able to keep him clean, he was very, very good. And you got to also take into account, though, he had about 3 or 4 throws, that very good throws, that were negated because of penalties and drops. That would have continued drives, that would have kept us moving. Then he also made the easy throws look bad.
So you were encouraged by his pocket throwing, not necessarily his overall game, but what he was able to do standing in the pocket and delivering the football.
What he improved on year over year.
Okay.
So where he was last year, being able to stand in the pocket and be able to throw those. I mean, he threw a couple of 15-yard outs and 15-yard comebacks and be able to hit some of those intermediate, 15 to 18-yard throws that he wasn't throwing last year. Or wasn't able, or was overthrowing last year. So he threw a couple of those that were right on the dot. And, and again, you look at even some of the highly touted guys like Arch Manning. Arch Manning missed a lot of those same easy throws last week too.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, if you're looking at to cherry pick and nitpick, there's a lot of first week jitters that go into it. And, but again, you're saying, okay, well, he's a third-year starter. Arch Manning is his third year at Texas too. And it's not necessarily his first go around. He's played in some playoff games. So it's not necessarily apples to apples, but I'm just saying it's not all as bad as it's looking. I'm not trying to make it seem like it's all rainbows and peaches.
No, I get it. No, again, the perspective on that is good, because we can get overly negative about a week 1 performance. So I think that's important. Rob, what else did you like from the game? What else do you find encouraging?
Well, I'll tell you what, Josh Hoover didn't miss any of those throws. Let me tell you, he didn't miss a single throw all night last night.
No, he did not.
But he had probably the cleanest pocket with that horrible North Carolina pass rush.
No, it was all 11 guys on that offense were in sync. But
Thomas, we will get to this question about the run game in just a few minutes. But for now, Rob, give me another thing you were encouraged about.
John Love. I mean, do we have the best kicker in the country? It's a legitimate question. Yeah. I mean, the kicker from Michigan is unbelievable, but other than that, like John Love is awesome. I mean, tiny guy, nailing it 55 yards, probably had another 10 in him. That was just he's the best kicker.
He's a weapon. He can be a weapon for us.
We've had a lot of great kickers. We are kicker you. I will gladly put that title on us, and man, he might be the best of the best.
I love it. Mike, what do you got?
So bright spots.
Yeah,
we're looking at it's to go along with what Robert said. Loved Nick Vilcitsas. I mean, you can take away the one that was returned, obviously, but what a weapon that guy is. He was hitting bombs.
Yeah, all day. Averaged like 45 yards, I want to say.
Yeah, and just bombs. I love having that guy, but it was mostly the height and the hang time he had on it. I mean, one of the reasons why they returned that punt is our gunners, and Pryor mentioned this in the post game. We let up because we thought it was such a high punt that he was going to fair catch it, and then didn't, and then just toasted us. But
and that punt never should have even happened if we were lined up correctly, because we had to re-punt, and then on the re-punt is when they returned it. But that shouldn't take away from the skill that Vilcitsas. I'll mess up his name all year, but how
do you line up incorrectly on a punt?
I don't know, man. This is the second straight
year.
How
many times do you practice that one formation? Are you? Never mind.
Like think about last Labor Day and the double zeros. This Labor Day we get this. I just it's infuriating because in both seasons they were pretty back-breaking plays. They cost us big time in both games. And so you just can't have it, and you probably can't have a special teams coordinator that's allowing it to happen. That would be my opinion on that. For my bright spots, I was just going to say, because you guys covered a lot of the good stuff, the defense in general, it just seems like we may have a pretty astute defensive coordinator. Seemed like we were doing a lot of different things, Mike, and you could maybe speak to more of that. But like we heard, we might see some odd man fronts, different lineups. I mean, you had El-Haj Fall, like the big guy that Robert talked about earlier, who's like 288 pounds, lined up, kind of he wasn't on the outside, but he wasn't on the inside. It was like, I don't know. We can do so many different things with those guys, and it's really exciting because J.C. Price is probably our best position coach on the team. And then you add a good defensive coordinator to actually do some creative things with the scheme. It could be really fun because Caleb Woodson, we didn't even mention this. He did play. Mm-hmm. He made an impact. Absolutely. And so if you've got those good linebackers behind him and you've got a dynamic defensive line, I mean, yeah, we could be better in the back and we're going to get older and better back there. But like, it's exciting. I'm excited about what the defense could do this year.
Yeah. I'll piggyback on that. Megamind. I mean, he's big brain, man. I'm telling you.
I was about to say an evil genius. Yeah.
I love everything that he was doing. And there's if you go back and watch the ESPN feed, if you have YouTube TV and you recorded it, you can go back, or ESPN app, you can go back and watch the replay, the live broadcast. When we get Sellers for the safety, they have a great down the goal line view of how we were playing on the defensive line. And it's kind of what if you saw me on Friday when I was in my element and I was talking about playing basketball defense against them, that's exactly what we were doing. So we were just getting arms extended on the defensive line and keeping them in front. And if we saw an opening, we took it, but we were basically keeping them in front of us and just extending the arms, keeping the offensive lineman off of our chest, and just basically reading and reacting and letting the linebackers be able to flow free. So it was just a really good game plan, and it's something that we're going to have to do next week as well. But it's something where last year we were kind of just pinning our ears back and going, and just really trying to create havoc and pressure on every rep and every snap. And you create gash lanes and run lanes that way. And by just playing that base shell, and you kind of take that element away and you're kind of forcing him to do what he's not comfortable doing, which is sit in the pocket and try to force some of those throws. And that's when you saw him have to step up in the pocket and then, I see somebody late. And then he throws one 10 feet high, and so I really loved how he was shifting stuff around. And now we're sending safeties in, we're sending corners in, we're showing an A gap and then bringing somebody in off the C, and we're running twists and stunts. And it was just a really good game plan overall.
Yeah. Okay. And I feel like they arranged the roster really well. Like, bringing in all the transfers they brought in, at least on the defensive line, because you bring up a good point, Pete, about like Fall being this like 280-pound defensive end, and he's listed as a defensive end on the depth chart, mm-hmm. but it's really, he's like that odd front, that 3-4, like Cameron Hayward Steelers type of, like he's basically a defensive tackle that just, is out on the edge a little bit more just because of the lack of bodies in there. And I mean, so yeah, it's almost like not only you're rotating people in and then having different formations and fronts that fit their skill sets. And it really, really keeps the defense on their toes.
The variety, the multiplicity, as the coaches like to say, like it's really cool because we actually have a ton of defensive linemen that can be rotated and do various things. So that's encouraging. And the last thing I'll say before I ask you guys about what maybe disappointed you, I was just going to say the skill talent in general, they had their mistakes, but like the actual athletes we were running out there was a concern leading into this game. Like, what are we going to get out of this wide receiving core? What's going on with the running backs? Haven't really seen any of these guys. And they looked like they should be out there. They looked
Yes.
big enough for the moment. There were times when they made mistakes. South Carolina made mistakes too, but it seems like we got enough skill talent on this team to do some damage as long as we can put it together a little bit between the quarterback and what they're doing. But I thought, Hawkins looked pretty good. Aiden Green, Donovan Green. We saw Cam Selden. So I feel like we got enough. Isaiah Spencer made that awesome catch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So that was my last thing. Did you guys find anything particularly disappointing? There were obviously things we didn't win the game. So there were obviously things that weren't so great. Mike, why don't you kick us off with something that would be maybe negative in the game?
I know a lot of people want to say, okay, the offensive line play. I'm not. I think that's cherry picking. Just because the dudes we were playing against, they're just. We're not going to go up against 325-pound guys, in the interior, especially. Honestly, I think Altuner held his own
I think
against those two guys.
Was fine. I thought they were fine.
Yeah, and I think for going up against Dylan Stewart, I think Remack did really well turning his hips and running him out, and then letting Drones, kind of get outside when he could, and then stepping up, and doing what he could. I thought Remack did really well. I thought Cunningham did really well. We had some holes to make some plays in the run game. Did we make big gash plays? No, but we could get 3 yards. We could get 4 yards. I think our longest run play was 11. But sometimes that works if you could do it over and over again. We just couldn't get the extended drives. That was the thing. The thing that was the biggest disappointment, though, I think overall for me was that we didn't come out sharp. You got a month to prepare for week one, and you saw it all across the country. Chapel Hill, as bad as they are, they came out clicking on that first series.
Yep.
They ran their first 8 plays on their script, and they went down and looked like $1 million, right? And South Carolina did the same thing. And then they look like $1 million. They'd run, and honestly, we had a lot of injuries. We had a lot of people banged up over the course of camp. And I know we tried to hide it a little bit by him and hawing who was hurt, who was banged up, who was day-to-day, was Stewart going to play, blah, blah, blah. I think that hampered us. And the fact that we couldn't execute fully our script on our first series on offense was disappointing. And
execution was a problem. Like that, yeah. That was on my list. Just like general execution, we were doing one step forward and maybe not 2 steps back, but like 1.5 steps back. That's kind of how I would say with how the offense was kind of going on. Rob, what did you have in terms of something that let you down, something you were hoping was going to be a little bit better?
I was hoping we'd get in the end zone, but
that would have been nice. Football, that's a big part of it. Getting in the freaking end zone.
Points is usually recommended.
Hey, we got a safety. That's in the end zone.
Technically, we were in the end zone.
I think that and Coach, I think you hit on this a little bit talking about Kyron because yes, you're right. He was when everything was set up well for him, clean pocket, all that. He played well. I think it is that off script stuff. And to me, I do wonder, like you talk about, scramble drill, all that, how much time did they actually have to do that? Because I think my biggest concern coming into the season was, Kyron missed most of the spring, all the summer. You're installing this new offense. You're bringing in this new team. And even the receivers you retained, like Aiden Green, Takai Heath, those guys were on the second team last year. And so they just didn't have, it seems like they just didn't have the time that they needed to, work out those kinks and figure out how to play as a unit versus okay, I know I need to be in this spot, then you go there, but being able to just kind of have that sixth sense of being able to play off of one another. So that was pretty disappointing to see. I think I don't know. I would like to think that'll get better, but I don't know. I mean, it's clear that this passing game is just out of sync.
And that's why we can come back to Thomas's question now. Was Jones used in the run game? Was it ever a threat? And what I found disappointing, and something that me and Sam had talked a lot about over the summer, is we needed Kyron to break down the defense with his running, whether that be designed run or scrambling and getting down the field. And we really didn't see it. And it could have something to do with the injury. It could have something to do with the way he wants to play football. It could have something to do with the way Monty wants him to play. And I think me and Coach were having this conversation in the airport, and he said something to me, and I was like, oh, no, that can't be true. And Mike, what were you saying to me about drones in the run game?
So, and you saw this a lot across the weekend, and it happened in the Clemson game. It happened in our game twice for both teams. But when you think about the grand scheme of where we are in college football, off or out of conference games early in the season don't matter. Okay. Now they matter to us as fans, right? Because, and they should matter to a guy like Brent Pry, who's on the proverbial hot seat, right? He's got to win if God forbid, if he loses to Vanderbilt, he's probably not here next year. Okay. So for all intents and purposes, right? That's probably not hyperbolic to say.
No, if effectively his career at Tech might be over if he loses on Saturday night.
Yes. So but if your goal is to play for the ACC championship and to win, to go to the playoff, a opening weekend game at a neutral site against South Carolina doesn't matter enough to run your quarterback 20 to 25 times to potentially get him hurt against 320-pound linemen, and in that type of game. And honestly, Shane Beamer had the same idea. So did Dabo Swinney. And so
Brent Key sure as hell didn't. I'll tell you
Brent Key did not subscribe to this.
Because what does Brent Key have? He's got Pinion. He's got a backup
that he likes.
He's got a backup.
Yeah. That he's also an offensive lineman, right? Former offensive lineman, and he's one of those tough guys. Like that's just kind of how he coaches Haynes King. And we'll talk about Georgia Tech after we're done with VT in a second here, but he's probably not going to make it through the season if they do that. So what Mike is saying, I nearly jumped out of my chair and strangled him when he said it. This game doesn't matter, but I get it. I understand. I just felt like there is a balance. There's a way to do it and give your team a chance to win by doing the thing your quarterback does best. And he's coming off an injured year already. So maybe it makes even more sense what Mike is saying, but you don't want to hear it as fans.
Game. Yeah. You don't want to hear it as a fan. You don't want to be like, oh, we're, pussyfooting around, when we have to win games, when recruiting is on the line and fundraising is on the line, and we just asked our board of visitors for $70 million and blah, blah, and we're pussyfooting around in a game that was winnable.
South Carolina was begging us to win the game.
Yeah, they were
asking us to win the game,
but I get it, because I'm looking at it like, okay, he was getting hit in the backfield already, and they weren't necessarily saying don't scramble. They were saying let's not get him unnecessarily hit, and if you could pull it down, and so, but I get it, because Sellers' only designed run of the game, I believe, was on that opening drive, and it was in the red zone, and so that was it. Everything else was on a scramble for him too.
So that brings me to the last point of the negatives, at least for now, the punt return. And Robert, we talked about this on the thread today. Having all new special teams guys for South Carolina, and it presumably being an advantage for us. We talked about our kicker. We talked about our punter. We've got Tucker Holloway. That should have been an area of the game that was ours. You got Frank, Mr. Beamer Ball himself, sitting there watching his son, and they get the return. This hit you hard.
Yeah, he can hit me harder than anybody. It's not just they had a really good special teams play and beat us. We had a major fuck up on special teams with the formation. And like how many times has that happened now? I mean, you mentioned the 0-0. Like, it's just, and on top of that, like, I think another point here is that like Tucker Holloway had like really no space to return a punt all night. And you want to say, all right, South Carolina, if that's just like, it's just a bad matchup, South Carolina's got the athletes, even they're like third stringers on special teams or 4 stars, like, sure, I get it. But you would have hoped he'd at least been able to get a few yards once. So it just seemed like the unit, and I don't know, and Coach, you might know more than this than I would, but like even our punt coverage, like the last guys trying to chase the dude down were, you know, running 6-second 40s, you know, so it's just I don't know how that, if that's meant to play out that way or not, but that certainly didn't look great on TV.
Yeah, you have your 3 bears back there as your personal protectors protecting the punter. But you never want to be that guy. But there's a block in the back that was missed coming down the sideline. I think I posted the video where I went forward and backwards on the scrambler, showing where it had, but that's it's one of those ones that you're never really they're not gonna catch all of them. But there's it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, it's in the heat of the moment. They just hate those guys. You got to remember, those guys that were on the field had just sprinted 60, 70 yards. Right. And so it's at the end of the game. They're winded. Your responsibility as the gunner, which is the guy that they called it on, he gets up to the line. He checks the ball. He's supposed to check with the line judge to make sure that he's on the line. He may have pointed, and maybe he didn't even look, because he's like, man, I'm exhausted. So I'm thinking about that at that point, and I'm saying, what do I do? If I'm that guy, what do I do? Can you really get mad at them? It's a mental error. You make them run some hills, but it cost you. It cost you big, but you can holler and you can scream, but it's a mental lapse and it's a mental error. He's probably not going to do it again.
It just seemed like a cruel. It seemed like a cruel outcome for how the game was going at the time. And for just the history of Frank and Shane and special team, it just was a cruel punishment, something that I don't think Virginia Tech fans deserved in that moment from the football gods. That's just like kind of a silly
The
aside,
only thing worse would have been, old number 70 trotting back out there for one more play and then completely whiffing and block punt.
I think, yes, a blocked kick, I think, would have been worse. Like a blocked field goal for us to go up for the win, getting blocked and them running it back the other way. See, that could have been worse. So I guess we should be grateful.
I thought for a second that after the dropped touchdown, after that 2nd and 32 or 2nd and 33 run, we get the stop.
Mm-hmm.
Then they kick the field goal. I was like, here comes the fake. This is the fake field goal. This is what we've, that he was going to do something, and he didn't. I think it was a good call. Didn't run a fake field goal. Bless his heart.
We're saving that stuff for ACC play, right, Mike? We need to save it up for the games that matter. Now, I think the mistakes that kind of doomed us, it was Drones' overall play. It was the mistakes, the penalties, the drops, and critical moments. And the fact of the matter is, their receivers made plays. And one of these comments says that, like, I liked how our receivers fought for and won 50-50 balls. And they did. So for as much as Drones got let down with some drops, the Isaiah Spencer catch was out of this world. Some of what those guys were doing out there was really, really good, helping him out. Mm-hmm. So I think Drones' stat line is Drones' stat line. It's 15 of 35. Like, it is It is not good, with a horrific interception and another interception that also wasn't that great. So my calculus and me projecting this win really centered around us getting an outstanding day, or at least a good day, from Kyron Drones, and the defense being improved under Sam Sefkis. And half of that was true, and half of it was not. And unfortunately, Kyron Drones has, if you go by the advanced stuff, he's been really bad for over a season now. And
Yeah.
I know this was a difficult matchup. I mean, it's up there with one of the most difficult you're going to have, but I don't think this South Carolina defense is Ohio State. I don't think it's Tennessee's defense. I don't think it's Texas's defense. I don't think it's Notre Dame's defense. And so
I still don't know if it's Miami's. I'm going to be honest.
right.
I think that Miami defense.
So like it's disappointing for our 22-year-old quarterback to go out there and put this up when the defense only gives up 119 rush yards to this team, with a guy like Sellers, playing behind center. They were only 21% on their run success rate, according to I think it was Cover 3, and that's really low. We defended the run really well by my eyes, by the advanced stuff, and that was a major win for us and a major key to victory for us. And everything kind of came together until that punt return and then the shot over the top to Harbor, which, we're kind of keying on the run because we think they might be running the clock out. We're trying to get the ball back. I get it. It's a butterfly effect, but it started with that penalty. And there were other penalties and other drops, but there was too many mistakes, too much of the same stuff we've seen for 3 years under this staff. And I really hope it was different, right, Rob? It wasn't the same kind of mistakes necessarily. It wasn't like blatant coaching errors, so to speak. More fixable errors, I'm hoping.
Yeah. Like not like clock management or like in-game decisions, I guess is what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, you fix the slice, now you can't putt. It's just this is just who we are.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to just about do it, unless you guys have any. Let me ask you this, because I said I was. Did anything that happened on Sunday change your projection on the win total for Virginia Tech this year, Mike?
Honestly, I think because I expected us to go 1-1, to be honest with you, I still think 9-3 is on the table. It's
okay.
It's
what
just
so your projection going into the season. You said, were you one of those guys that was like, we're going 3-9 or 9-3?
Yeah, 9-3 or 3-9. So if it all depends on how we bounce back mentally. To be honest with you, I really do think that if we come out, we can come out like a ball of fire, or we can come out like a lump of shit. And and we have played really, really well at night and under Brent Pry. And for some reason he gets them up. He gets them up for it at Lane. And I think it's going to be the home opener. There's going to be a bunch of dudes rocking and rolling in Lane. They're going to be raring to go. I think we're going to. If we can come out blazing, Kyron looks good. I think Terry and Stewart will be ready. And I think he was missed severely.
Yeah, we could have used Stewart for sure. I mean, if we got the Stewart that played for Bowling Green last year, it would have been a factor. But
that's a game changer. He's a game-changing player. We needed
absolutely.
him.
Austin did mention that Hawkins looked good and wasn't getting enough credit maybe for some plays. Like, I guess he's talking about Tootin in terms of like making that first guy miss kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's true. But I thought over the summer, like, Stewart was a next level up from Hawkins. And maybe that's not how it's going to play out. And maybe Hawkins is a better player than Stewart. But it would have been nice to have them both to see, because Coney was out there getting carries. I don't think Coney gets any carries if Terrion Stewart's fully healthy and gets to Tech and hits the ground.
No, and BJ Prelude probably doesn't either.
No. And our between the tackles game, though, was a lot more than I expected it to be. Based on it was good. And it looked decent.
Yeah, it looked decent,
all things considered. I think our 3 interior might be better than it was It's definitely better than it was last year.
Yeah.
And
that's not a high bar.
It's not a high bar. Again, not a high bar, but considering you got a freshman in the middle of it, that's meaning something.
That's the thing right there. Redshirt freshman, that's probably better than our center last year, right, Rob?
Right. And you were going against
and you took an all-conference left guard and you moved him to right tackle. So like you're not even talking about Remack in there. And it's guys in there anyway.
Cunningham was good in there too. I liked what we did.
Mike's positive tonight. Rob, did anything you saw over the weekend change your record prediction for the season?
So over the weekend, so it's interesting because I was the less extreme. I was the 8-4, 4-8. I actually am knocking us down to 7-5, and I don't think it had anything to do with Virginia Tech per se. It was more about what I saw around the country. Because Miami, Florida State, Cal, like a lot of the teams on our schedule.
Is Cal going to be a problem?
We thought they would.
We're going to talk about the ACC in the next segment, so save that.
Maybe
thought.
Cal's a little hyperbole, but like, I was counting on Florida State being garbage, and I certainly didn't expect Miami to be able to knock off, what I view as a top team in the country. Mike might feel differently, but about Notre Dame. But so I just think our schedule is a little tougher than it seemed a week ago.
I am staying with 8-4. I projected it before the season. I wanted 1-1. I should say this. I expected at worst 1-1. Then I expected 2-0 versus ODU and Wofford. And then I expected 5-3 in ACC play. And that's still attainable. So I'm not coming off 8-4. This last comment from Thomas on the Hokies. If Drones isn't a threat to run, what's the point of having him on the field? And that's interesting because we know that Pop might be a better pure passer. But what Mike said about Drones hitting balls in the pocket, when he had a clean pocket, hitting balls in the pocket. I don't know what I'm talking about over here. When he had a clean pocket, Drones was playing well. Now, under pressure was a totally different story. Sam and I will cover that more tomorrow night. But I think Drones gives you a bigger physical presence. He will run as the season goes on. And I don't know. We saw Pop beat the crap out of UVA. Pop was fighting for his life against Rangel in practice over fall camp. So I don't know that he's even as close to Drones as maybe Rangel is. And so
yes,
it's always going to be Drones. If he's healthy, he's going out there. It's not really up for debate. It's just the way that it is. I don't say, and I'm not sure whether I agree with it or don't agree with it. I don't have time to think about that at this very moment, but it is, Thomas, your question is valid. I mean, people are asking it. People are wondering why we didn't stick with Pop. I think there are reasons behind it, but we're not going to get into the depths of it right now. Rob, what do you got to say?
I was just going to say, I just think Pop, he was amazing against UVA, but he also, you talk about fighting for his life. He was fighting for his life against Duke, and he was fighting for his life against Minnesota. How the hell do you think that's going to go against South Carolina? You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. And that's his limitation. I don't know. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. I think we just didn't have a great answer there.
All right, let's move forward. We are going to get to some ACC talk, some playoff talk, QBU talk. Where would you want to go? But first, I want to tell you that College Football Monday is brought to you by Rhoback. Almost said the wrong show. You guys know Rhoback. Rhoback is performance activewear designed for those who crave activity. It's the same polo company that brought you the Commonwealth. They got the Hokie tracks. They got the TV logo. They got the Sandman. They got the Game Day polo, which both of my boys here were rocking this weekend. You can use code TUDIVT to get 20% off your first order from Rhoback. They also have a ton of great lady stuff. In addition to so many universities, they just added a bunch of new things for, among other schools, JMU, which my wife went to. But they got the Q-zips, the little dresses for the ladies. They got joggers, shorts, and of course the polos and the hoodies. So make sure you use code TUDIVT for 20% off your order. Rhoback Crave Activity. Mike, are you drinking anything tonight? We know Rob's having a German beer. You having anything?
I got a Dogfish 120-minute right now.
Oh, that's like drinking a loaf of bread. I love that.
Oh, yeah. Going to a little high test today.
Oh yeah, and those 120 minutes when they came out, and every time they get released, I still think there's a little bit of a demand for them. Like people really like them. I usually have some in like the bottom shelf of my fridge because they age pretty well. And you pop that thing open in a year, and you're not only working with what does it say on the bottle? Is it 12?
Though this is I think this is a 15 or 15%.
Yeah. So you
15.
you let that simmer. You get a 20%er in about a year or two.
Yeah.
I did that last year with some buddies. We were having kind of like a bourbon barrel night, and I brought an old 120 minute and cracked it open after a couple of years, and it was really freaking good. Nice choice. I'm just sticking with something simple because I drank way too much beer down in Atlanta with you idiots. I'm having the gold Miller Lite, so
Nice.
we're gonna stick with that tonight. Drink something light.
Golden bullet, baby. Let's go.
I can't just go cold turkey after the last few days. I had like 3 in the airport yesterday. I'll be shaking tonight if I don't have this bad boy at least. So, Miller Lite for me, it's solid. All right, let's go to other notes from around the country. Utah smacked UCLA 43-10. Nico put up a stinker. 50% completion, 136 yards passing, 1 TD, 1 pick. Tampier on the other side, Robert. Shoo-wee, second best QBR in the conference at 88.8 on the road. Nearly 300 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Our buddy Colby talked about a Heisman future on this guy. That might be a worthy investment.
Our buddy Sam Jesse would also be quite excited by that. He is the Utah truther.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, yeah, Dampier's awesome. And like win, lose, or draw, he's going to put up numbers. And that's kind of he's one of the most fun players in college football for that reason. And, I don't know how far this Utah team's going to go, but man, their appointment TV every Saturday.
Yeah. And they got the home
How
field.
bad
Nico stinks.
Yeah. Nico, they're in for a long season in UCLA, I would bet. They were getting crushed up front. He did not have a ton of time to throw, and they got to take on Penn State and some other really tough teams.
So,
They
question:
might be the worst team in the Big Ten.
Who gets fired first? UCLA's coach or Alabama's coach? That's the question of the day.
Because it's funny with Deshaun Foster when he was like, "We're in LA," and he was kind of a joke for a while. They actually had a nice little season when it was all said and done. Like I thought he got them playing well last year, and then they do the whole Nico thing, and obviously that was handled poorly by Nico and his family, I feel like, but it seems like a bad situation. This whole thing just doesn't seem, they lost the trade because Aguilar looked pretty good.
Aguilar's the man.
Tennessee fans had a nice day on Saturday. Let's go back to the interesting weekday games because we were together, Mike, for a couple of these. GT able to overcome some early mistakes, beat Colorado 27-20. King had the pick and the fumble before getting it together. In fact, he might have had 3 turnovers. 19 carries for the Georgia Tech quarterback. We talked about him and Brent Key not giving a shit about running his quarterback as much as possible. He's a baller, but where we get GT in the season, it makes me feel better about that matchup.
We're going to have Pinion. Now, granted, I think Pinion beat us a couple of years ago. Is it Pinion? It's Pinion, right?
No,
Pyron?
It's the freshman.
Pyron.
No, there's Pyron's not. I don't know if Pyron's there anymore, but
it's the other guy. Yeah,
it's the other guy. It's the other guy. Yeah,
but anyway,
Philo.
Yeah,
Philo,
he was the one that was a freshman last year.
We're combining the names.
Yeah.
But
I should know this. My father-in-law went to Georgia Tech. But
we locked him down pretty good in Blacksburg last year, but he then went on to lead them to 3 straight wins before Haynes King came back. So he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, GT had 3 turnovers in total, 8 penalties, and they still won on the road at elevation against a decent team. Like that, the old ACC, like a regular ACC team would not get that win. Like that was a nice win for Georgia Tech. I don't know how long they're going to keep him upright, but as long as he's upright, they're going to be a very formidable foe in the ACC. So that's a nice win there. Auburn goes into Waco and beats Baylor 38-24. I really liked Baylor this year. I liked Robertson. I thought they'd win this one, but the line absolutely stunk beforehand. Didn't prevent me from sticking with Baylor, and I paid for it. They got jumped all over by Auburn. It was 17-3. Baylor had to hit a pass on a 4th down to even get it to 17-10, make it a 7-point game at the half. And then Auburn really never let up. Like, this was impressive, Rob, by Hugh Freeze in what was a tumultuous offseason coming in and a lot of question marks. Like, this was a big win for them on the road.
Yeah, and I mean he did really well what he needed to do, which was like to take as much pressure off of Jackson Arnold as possible. They just ran the ball, just furiously ran the ball, which I think was a pretty big surprise considering like they lost Jarquez Hunter, who's a great running back. Might end up being the starter for the Rams by the end of the year. So even though I'm not a Hugh Freeze fan, pretty far from it, got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah. Jackson Arnold, I mean, once he got out of Oklahoma, that was his kryptonite. Norman was his kryptonite. I mean, sometimes all you need is a fresh start.
Yeah, the running was there. I don't know about the passing long term, but he ran the ball well. I mean, 93.7 QBR, 137 rush yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. On the other side, Robertson had to throw it 48 times. I know he's pretty good, but that's too many. And for a home game with him as a dark horse Heisman candidate, with the gold helmets coming out, this is disappointing for Baylor because they were hoping to make a run at the Big 12 title. And this threw some cold water on that. And they're going right back at it this week because they got SMU coming up. That's not going to be an easy one, and one the ACC really needs. So I'm curious how Baylor bounces back after that one. Finally, Nebraska was able to outlast Cincinnati 20-17. This wasn't a very pretty game from the actual play, but it looked good on TV. Travis and Taylor were there taking it in. I saw a funny tweet saying it's a good chance that Taylor knows who Dana Holgerson is, and it made me laugh. After getting down 3, Nebraska scored 13 unanswered to lead at the half, and then since he got it within 3 2 different times, and I like Sorsby, but they couldn't ever make enough plays. A little bit of a boring, sloppy game, but cheers to Raiola. He got the win. He's doing his, Mahomes hand thing in Mahomes Stadium. All of it was pretty funny. But Matt Rule and the Huskers, I mean, that's a game they typically lose. On the flip side of what I was saying about ACC teams, that's a game that they lose. They've lost so many close games over the years, and similar to Virginia Tech, but they get this one, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't anything to write home about. I had the thought of like, could Nebraska be a playoff sleeper? And I know Josh Pate was all over that as well. But, I think that put cold water on that as well. And then, I don't know, Cincinnati's just not very good. I'm not a Scott Satterfield guy. Those are games he loses a lot. So it was kind of
Scott Satterfield, he got a little bit of a lifeline.
Unstoppable force versus a movable object.
Right. He got a lifeline when Cincinnati decided to hire him away from Louisville because he was going to get canned anyway eventually. And, I forgot about this one. USF dominating Boise to kick us off on Thursday. That was
proud.
Again,
USF
unexpected.
money line better here.
Yeah, I took USF. I took USF. I didn't know if they'd get the win, but across country in Tampa, week 1 with Genty gone, a lot to overcome, a lot to do there. And if Byron Brown plays at his best, they're going to be a factor for this G5 playoff spot. Now they got Florida this week, so that's tough. It's in the swamp, but could they put a scare into Florida?
They're 17.5-point dogs at the moment.
I would take him. I take him to cover.
That seems like a lot.
I'm taking those points. Yeah, that's a lot of points.
Because Lagway is so hit and miss, and he's so fragile. He's one hit away, and
he is
it's.
I just thought.
I'm a huge Lagway guy. I think he's going to win the Heisman this year, but you can win the Heisman with a two touchdown win here. So.
Important wins for Florida State, Miami, and GT. If we're looking at ACC stuff, bad results for Clemson, UNC, and Stanford going back to week 0. But beating Notre Dame and Bama, I think, outweighs what we were hoping for from Clemson. I think getting those 2 wins against 2 giant brands like Bama and Notre Dame, it doesn't really get much bigger than that in college football. And the ACC just got wins against both of them in a year when Bama's supposed to win 10 games. Notre Dame's coming off the Natty appearance. Big wins. And those are the 2, Florida State and Miami, that we've been waiting for them to be good in the same season to see if we can have kind of this clash of the Florida schools like we expected 20 years ago. Maybe this is the year, guys. maybe.
Yeah, I saw this stat on, I believe it was on SVP Sports Center last night.
I saw that dude. Yep.
Do you know the last time that Florida State and Miami both won 10 games? Pete?
2000?
More recent than that.
More recent than that? 2003 maybe? I don't know.
03, yes.
Okay.
03. So
okay.
since Miami joined the ACC.
Hasn't happened.
Where both those guys
Never
won.
happened.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And I would also like to take this moment, shout out SC Scout Guy if you're still there. South Carolina has more ACC championships than Miami.
And UVA, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, 1 versus 0. So,
did you guys think about anything regarding that UVA thrashing of Coastal? Should we give UVA any credit for that?
I haven't seen a single play from it, and I don't plan to.
No. All the free concessions of the world may not fix Coastal Carolina this year.
Okay. I don't think I missed anything from the weekend. I covered a lot before you guys joined. Rob, we missed you for the Clemson recap. What was just tell us about, give me 2 minutes on their Clemson experience. You were there for the game. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it was, I think it was the best college environment I've ever been to in my life. I'm not kidding. And I mean, mainly that's because I went to Virginia Tech, unfortunately, but I've been to some Clemson games before. It's always a good time, but I've always seen them play like Louisville or Syracuse or NC State, like this night game in Clemson, getting to see the entrance, all of it. They did like a drone show between the third and fourth quarter. The LSU fans, they really showed up well. They didn't seem like they were given a lot of tickets. They were sort of lining the upper deck, but they made their presence felt. And what really makes Clemson interesting, and I think it's probably like this with a lot of other SEC type environments as well, but Clemson Stadium holds 85,000, but I would venture to say there were probably 200,000 people in Clemson on Saturday
in the town.
In the town, yes.
Wow.
Which is I mean, that's a town with a population of 1/10 of that. So it was cool. LSU fans were cool. I didn't have any issues with any LSU fans. You
didn't choke that guy out in the top row. That wasn't you. Did you see that video?
No, I didn't. Oh my God.
Oh, there's this kid who was like, after LSU won or something, he gave this maybe 45 to 50-year-old guy like double birds. And the guy was just like, "Ah!" And he just pinned him to the cement.
Gave the forearm to the neck.
Yeah, I think someone else was giving a forearm. He had 2 hands on his neck. It was quite funny. But anyway,
it was great.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. Rob did the double dip. He was in Clemson for that game, and then he was in South Carolina. Both the teams he wanted to win lost, but he's a trooper. Big weekend of college football for Rob on Liberty.
Yep. It was. The ACC was 0-2 with Robert Irby in attendance and 13-2 without him. So,
all right, let's have a quick conversation about where you guys would want to play if you were a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. I thought this was a fun question that Robert had sent to me in a tweet. And I think this would be a combination of coaching, money, the college town / location, maybe academics, if you want to put that into your formula. But let's spend 5 to 7 minutes on this. Mike, first, what would be your go-to criteria in terms of this? Where are you going first? Are you going coaching angle? You going, where can you get the biggest amount of money? Or is weather more important to you?
All right. Well, number one, if I'm a 5-star quarterback, the money is coming, right? So that's no matter what. That's so I'm not really necessarily worried about that part of it. So I'm looking,
but you're not going to get that money from Tech. So I feel like
yes. So
you know what I'm saying.
So primarily you're narrowing it down to the blue bloods.
Only if you want money.
Only if you want money. Now, I'm also now looking at, okay, who's going to develop me and who's going to get me to the show. Okay. I'm probably going to go to, I'm probably going to look at Ohio State and Texas. I'm going to go at Ryan Day, and I'm looking at Sark. Because as far as developing passers, That's kind of what I'm looking at. The runners up for that are going to be guys going to be Penn State, and they're going Penn State, Alabama, and pick your Florida school. Okay, so because Florida schools are going to get your notoriety, okay, just in general. So whether it's Miami, whether it's Florida, whether it's Florida State, you're going to get notoriety there whatsoever. Okay, Penn State, because you get used, if you can be a 5-star at a Big Ten school that plays in cold weather, guess what is going to love you? AFC East and AFC North teams. They are going to love you. And if you can show some proclivity there and you can play in that weather, you're going to be a after draft pick there. Same if you can go and play at Ohio State. But primarily Ohio State, and looking at what Ryan Day does, how he is able to scheme plays for his quarterbacks to get guys open, to make you look good. Look what he did with Will Howard in the national championship game last year. And what Sark does in development of players when they have overall development. That was one of the reasons why Arch went there, was True. how he develops passers. It wasn't that, he wasn't, it was not like he's the gift of all offensive play callers. It's how he develops passers and gets them ready for the next level.
Yeah. Ohio State doesn't have the best history of developing quarterback talent, but we did just have CJ Stroud, who did struggle last year, but made it to the league, high pick, all that good stuff. He's kind of broken that mold a bit. But it's interesting with Ohio State, Penn State, like these teams, it's not necessarily the head coach is known for developing quarterbacks. They're known for getting really good recruits who end up living up to their billing. Whereas like that's the story of a lot of places. Rob, where would you go with this?
I think there's one clear answer, and Coach did not mention it. Send me to Eugene, Oregon, baby.
Oregon was up there on my list, and it's not just because of that. Yeah. Tell me why.
So, Eugene, fantastic place to live. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful scenery, good weather. It's not the biggest city in the world, but in terms of, kind of that college experience, I think it's pretty solid. Talk about coaching, Dan Lanning, elite young coach, and offensive coordinator Will Stein has been there. I think this is his 3rd year now. He's got those offenses humming. Turned Dylan Gabriel into an NFL quarterback somewhat. Maybe we'll see. And then these last 2 points are the most important. Lifetime Nike deal. You talk about that money. Money's going to keep coming forever because you can be one of the faces of the Nike program. And then the last point here, if you are the guy that finally gets Oregon over the top, you are a legend forever. They are the Charles Barkley. They are the Dan Marino. They are the James Harden of college football. They've done everything but win it, and they are hungry, pining for it. And that's my thing is like you win a national championship at Alabama, you win a national championship at Ohio State. Like no one remembers Jake Coker. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. But yeah, Oregon, you can be a legend there and wear some unique uniforms.
Did you have a secondary choice, just so I don't like steal an idea from you?
LSU.
Okay. Yeah. It's a good answer. And like I feel like LSU is an answer where you're gonna play in the best front of the best crowds, you're gonna get good coaching, you're gonna play with a ton of talent, you're gonna get the money, the town is awesome. The co-eds are good. It lines up. It's a good choice. But similar to Ohio State, Penn State, Florida, I'm not sure that I'm getting any specialized coaching necessarily. Like I'm getting an opportunity with a lot of people, but I'm also facing a ton of competition. Like there's going to be a new 5-star breathing down my neck. There's going to be a new portal guy breathing down my neck every single semester, which yes, you're going to have competition everywhere, but it's different when you're at Ohio State. Even Joe Burrow transferred. So I think Tennessee would be at or near the top of my list because of Josh Heupel and what he's been able to do with quarterbacks. They have an endless bag, it would seem. The town is pretty good. The stadium is pretty good. The weather is pretty good. It's close to Blacksburg, and the color is similar to the Hokies, so it's not that much different from what I already experienced in college.
It's like the worst version of the color.
It is a nasty color. I mean, it is a
imaginable.
nasty orange. I'll give you that. But I just feel like his expertise with quarterbacks cannot be denied. And then I'm also going to go like Jeff Brom at Louisville. Like he continuously takes guys who really aren't all that great and turns them into someone who could win the ACC every single year. And Miller Moss had a great day. I don't know what it'll end up being, but he had a great day this past weekend. So Brom would be up there, and Louisville will pay. They got money. You're near all that bourbon. Maybe that's not a good thing for a college kid, but
hey, Papa John's money.
They got money.
It's not Nike money, but it's pizza money.
And I'll go a little bit off.
They give it to the basketball players, though. That's the thing. Is like that Louisville's a basketball.
You're secondary. Yeah, you're secondary.
But if you're a 5-star and you're going to go there, you're going to get $2-3 million, like now. You'd get that, and that's.
But your team, you might not have the best team.
You don't have the best team, but you'll have the longest leash. Like you will have such a long leash if you're a 5-star quarterback at Louisville.
Think about this, if you're a 5-star that has not the best grades, that's your option.
That's the option. Oregon was up there for me for all the reasons Robert said. Cool uniforms, money, town, great coach, all that stuff. Final one I'll point out. Arizona State. You get Dillingham. You get the weather. You get the girls. You get the cool mascot, the fun colors. And like Irby said, you get a chance to be the next Jake Plummer. I mean, like they worship him, and they've had some success, and they're having it now with Levitt. If you were the guy that gets them to anywhere special, you're a god in Tempe or whatever the actual town is that it's in. So, yeah, I would say ASU is another one on my list.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we covered that pretty good. Let's go to my picks for the playoff, and I want this to engage for some of your guys' thoughts here, because last week I had Bama in there. They had to go. They lost. I'm not feeling them. There's no way I think they can get through this season without taking 2 more losses, and I don't think they're going to put a 2-loss Alabama in the playoff after that performance against Florida State, because I don't think Florida State's running the table or anything. So I have replaced Alabama with LSU. I've got Georgia still. I've got Texas despite the loss. I think they're going to be at least 10-2, and they're going to find their way in the playoff. And then Tennessee I still have in there because there was nothing to really change my mind about Tennessee. I thought with the way the game played out, Syracuse putting up 26 points isn't like the end of the world. And their defense is really good. And Aguilar kind of exceeded my week 1 expectations. So that's my SEC: 4, LSU, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. Will you guys have anything different there for the teams from the SEC?
So the only thing I would say about – sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say mine is quite different. And I'm just trying not to overreact to week 1 per se, because coming into the season, I had Oklahoma and Florida in my playoff 4 or playoff 12, and I still have that.
Okay. Okay.
And I had Georgia out. So
there's a lot of choices from the SEC. There really is, because we haven't even talked about Ole Miss, but you had OU. Who was the other one? A&M?
Florida.
Oh, Florida. Because Sam had A&M in his last week.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of teams that could compete.
I see Florida, if they go 10-2, Lagway has the Heisman caliber season that I think he can/will have. And that includes a win against Georgia in Jacksonville. Like, to me, then that gets that narrative going right in the middle of the season, and then they're riding it. especially now that Florida State's good. So if they beat Florida State, that's a better win, and so forth. So.
And Mike, do you have anything different from the SEC? What other teams?
Yeah, so the only thing I would say about Tennessee is that I watched a lot of Appalachian State games. Aguilar can be just so hit and miss. He looked like a rock star last week against Syracuse. He can look like absolute trash next week, and he's done that his entire career. So they will lose 3 games because of him. I just do not see them coming through unscathed.
The reason I went with them over an Ole Miss or an A&M, they have maybe the most manageable schedule in the SEC besides Texas. It's very, very favorable. At one point, A&M has 3 road games in a row. Ole Miss has to go to Georgia and to OU, in addition to LSU, South Carolina, and Florida. Essentially, it's not like I'm in love with the Tennessee pick. They're 4th on my list because of that. But I just don't have enough confidence in a Florida and Ole Miss and A&M based on schedules mostly. Florida's schedule is ridiculous. And same with OU. OU's got to play Michigan this weekend. I mean, I think they'll win the game, but there's a lot of tough schedules in that conference.
Is Jeremy Foley still the AD at Florida, or did he get fired a couple years ago?
It's Strickland.
It's Strickland now. Whoever's the AD at Florida just needs to raise hell, because their schedules the last 3 or 4 years have just been they've god awful, terrible.
Cooked.
Yeah,
he's the guy who came over with Mississippi State and brought Dan Mullen with him.
Dan Mullen, yeah.
And they just won the Natty basketball, so he's feeling pretty
in
good
basketball.
himself.
Yeah, which he was kind of skating on thin ice.
Yes, he was. He was. All right, in the Big Ten, I have Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. Any difference of opinion in the Big Ten? Do you have a 4th team, either of you guys?
No, I think that's pretty much chalk.
That means nobody has confidence in Illinois, Nebraska, Washington. I mean, Washington almost lost to Colorado State this past weekend.
But Jonah Coleman looked good.
Okay. Yeah.
Great running back. I think I need to see more before I take that leap on any of them.
All right. And then in the ACC, I had Clemson and GT. I'm still leaving Clemson in there because I just think they have a good shot at going undefeated in the ACC, because it's the ACC. And if they're in the championship game, they'll have a decent shot at getting in the playoff. And I have to put Miami in there now. I took GT out. I don't think Haynes King's going to make it through the year. Based on what I saw, they made some dumb mistakes on top of it. And Miami beat Notre Dame, which a lot of people didn't think they could. And if they have found those receivers, like I said earlier in the show, they could be very, very dangerous. The problem with Miami is it's Miami, and Cristobal almost blew that game too. Like he tried to sit on the lead and he almost blew it, but he didn't. That being said, I think Notre Dame's good. So I left them in. I don't think they're losing more than 2 games.
I don't think they can.
At 10-2, they're going to.
I don't think they can make it in 10-2.
They're Notre Dame. They absolutely can. It depends on if there's an Indiana-like person from the Big Ten. Like if there's an 11-1 major conference school against 10-2 Notre Dame, it's going to depend for sure on the losses. But I just feel like at 10-2, most years they're going to put Notre Dame in.
Yeah, and I mean they play A&M this week. Like that's an opportunity for a pretty good statement win. I mean I don't know. Notre Dame was my pick to win the national championship. So.
Notre Dame's playing A&M this weekend?
Oh, no, next week. Well,
next week.
Yeah, week after next. Yeah,
I knew it was coming, but yeah. That's
my only note for you on the ACC is, so for me, I think the ACC gets 2 teams in. I think Clemson is one of them, but I'm between Miami and SMU, and I think that there is a game. They play each other. What week is this? It's pretty late in the season. I think it's early November. They play each other, and that's at SMU. And so to me, I think that game will determine a playoff spot. And right now I'm going to lean SMU still because I just like them better at home. And I'm higher on SMU than most this year. I know they lost a few pieces on defense.
That was your team last year.
I wrote it, and I'm gonna ride that thing again. Yes, that was a reference to Mustangs and horses. But yeah, Pony Express, buddy.
You know, when we were talking about the quarterback thing, Mike said something about the Florida schools. You know, Miami just had the Heisman Trophy winner, Heisman Trophy runner-up, and the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Like, maybe you should go to Miami if you're a quarterback, you know, especially if Carson Beck balls out this year. That could be higher up on the destination list.
Well, and if you remember, it used to be.
Yeah, but I know, but like, we can, if you have a guy that was as good as Cam Ward, and maybe he came in like that, you know, maybe that's not because of going there out of high school, you know, but something to think about.
Now, because you remember, it was Jim Kelly, Gino Torretta, you know, it was, you know, going all.
They certainly have the history, and you'll certainly get eyeballs. That's for sure. If you're trying to impress scouts, you will get eyeballs if you go to Miami. But and finally, in the Big 12, I picked Utah to start the year. Man, do I feel better about that now, because it was a little bit of a throw a dart pick. I liked what I could be from Dampier, and it's one game. But if I'm picking a Big 12 team today, it has to be Utah, and I'm glad that I had them last week. You guys have anything different in the Big 12?
TCU.
Okay.
And I had TCU before last night. I had Kansas State at the start of the year. Then I saw that week 0 nonsense, and I was like, all right, get them out of there. Wrong purple team.
Yep.
I like Hoover. I like Sonny Dykes. I know he's caught some heat recently, but like, you know what? He took a team to the national championship, and like, how many coaches can say they did that? So, I'll trust that pedigree
in the playoff format too. Yeah,
that's right.
And here's the other thing too. Like, if they both of them keep doing what they're doing, Notre Dame's out, then you got Utah and TCU in there.
That's true.
Well, A&M can really swing this thing next weekend. I mean, they can. I mean, if they beat Notre Dame, then the odds of Notre Dame running the table become low, right? So it might change the math on this. Finally, in the G5, I have Memphis. That was my pick to start the year. USF beating Boise was good for me. And the fact of the matter is, in a couple weeks, Memphis gets USF at home, in addition to getting Tulane at home. There's a couple other schools that you could go with here. You could go with Liberty or JMU, or stick with Boise State for all I know. They could beat Notre Dame in the middle of the year, and then they're back in the talks, but they did not look very good. So USF, maybe they deserve a little bit of credit here. What do you guys think of the G5? Yeah, you like Tulane?
Yeah, Tulane. Tulane was really good.
And I think the fact that they like beating Northwestern is one thing, but that's whatever. But they beat the shit out of Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern.
And to me, that's a big deal. Big Ten team, barely, but you know. And now they have 2 opportunities. They get Duke at home, and then they have to go to Ole Miss. You go 1-1 in those 2.
And they had a chip on their shoulder too, Robert. They had a chip on their shoulder too. Oh, and
against
they
Duke?
Summerall was talking some junk about them too. Like, it was, they got a little chip on their shoulder. I like what they're feeling down there. They lost Mensa to Duke.
Their coach Summerall's really good coach. I mean, he's is that who you're still talking about, Tulane?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to end up at a power school, maybe Kentucky. That's where.
And ultimately, like, Retzlaff is a guy who was very successful at a Power 4 conference. You know, left the team for, you know, nefarious reasons, but say what you will, he's probably the best quarterback in his conference right now. So,
yeah, and that conference might not be as buns as it has been the last couple of years. Like, I like the American last year, the defenses for the most part were awful. You didn't have, like, USF has been down a little bit. Memphis has been good. They've been one of the better teams. That's why I chose them in this. And Tulane has been really good, but Tulane has dealt with losses to the NFL and portal, significant losses the last couple of years. So I'm going to stick with Memphis for now, but your guys' pick is very valid. And I fear Navy in the American title game. That's what scares me about taking Memphis too, because Navy's going to be someone to deal with this year for sure. All right, finally, let's get to week 2 games. We're going to do this quick. Illinois at Duke, number 11, Illinois going into Wallace Wade. Duke, 2.5-point underdogs. I like Duke to pull off the upset, although they were They were in hell against Elon for a while there last week.
Shout out Landon Clark, Radford High School. Quarterback looked great down there, man. He's maybe the best football player in Radford High School history. Won a state championship. Wanted to come to Tech, but they wanted to put him at safety, so he went to Elon, played quarterback. But yeah, no, I mean, I think Duke Mensa looked awesome. Like he was throwing it all over the place.
Yeah.
It was
couldn't
just
run
a
it.
weird.
Couldn't run it for.
No, they could not run the ball at all, and that's going to be a real issue for them. But I think quarterback duel, Altmaier and Mensa, it's going to be pretty fun.
This is a game that happened last week.
I'm taking
NC State
Big Ten.
didn't look good at all versus ECU. Wouldn't be surprised if UVA has their way with them this weekend.
Taking the pack.
Yeah, I mean, State looked they about blew that.
It's
game
ECU and State though. ECU, they're a fucker when they're playing one of their rival teams.
That's true.
Don't doubt, but also don't doubt the toughness. And Tech should know this. Don't doubt the toughness of the Pirates. That's right, a tough ass program.
It is. We got Baylor at SMU. SMU 3-point favorites at home. Got to have this one for the ACC. You got to have this one.
I'm hammering SMU in those points. 3,
okay.
Come on.
That line doesn't make you fearful at all, like a bounce back for Baylor. Okay.
Because they say that like on average, like home field advantage gives you on average a 3-point swing. So you're telling me that those are two evenly matched teams in a neutral field? I don't believe that.
I would have believed it 6 days ago.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that like Baylor has some real defensive issues.
It seems that way.
SMU low-key very good at running the ball. Like Brashard Smith was awesome last year, but they've still got a stable of guys. I think they have their way with this pretty easily.
I like the confidence. What do you think on that one, Mike? You like SMU or Baylor in that?
I'm going SMU. I think Jennings is going to be too much for him. He's going to be just like Jackson are running the football. I think it's going to be.
I think they were looking ahead. SMU was just a bit last week. I know they still won and they did fine, but
it's a local matchup.
Right. Iowa at Iowa State. This is a nice rivalry game. Always played early in the year for the most part. Number 16, Iowa State, 3.5-point favorites in Ames. I think I got to go with Iowa. You got to take the points, right?
I'm not touching it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll actually play it, but just for the fun of this segment, I think I would have to take Iowa. These games are always like 2 points. Like they're literally like always
like 2 points scored. Yes,
like a 2-point score. Yeah, like 31-0
final score.
Yeah, 31-29 type shit.
This is a bucket list game for me. I've always wanted to go to the Cy-Hawk.
Yeah.
Like that. If I put a bullet to my head, Iowa State.
Okay.
I just think it's going to be Matt Campbell. Like Rocco Becht is too good. He looks good in Farmageddon. He looked good.
Yeah. Oklahoma State at Oregon. I put this on here because it's like a power matchup and Oregon's, top 10 team, but the line is 28.5. Gundy's program on hard times right now.
Bob Schick effect.
Do you think they can cover this number, Rob?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, didn't their quarterback get hurt too?
Yeah, I think there's something going on there. I heard. Yeah, I think so.
They're dead in the water, dead in the still water.
28 points is a lot, but you might be right. USF at Florida. This is a fun one. Florida number 13, 17.5-point favorites is what I saw it at earlier today. So if you can get that hook, make sure
17 in the hook.
You're shopping around. Do we all like USF here? Is that too much groupthink?
I like the hook.
I do too. But I think it's going to be an awesome game. Like I don't think that that's a knock on Florida. Like I think South Florida is a really, really competitive team.
Yeah.
They're always motivated in these, cross-state games because they feel like the little brother because they are. I think it's the game I'm most excited for this weekend.
South Florida should be the best group of 5 team in the country.
It should be them and
Hands
Boise.
down.
Like every year, like as long as Boise's still running hot, like it should be those two teams for the most part because they're in the location and they're like, yeah, they're not Power 5. And honestly, they've been mostly poorly run outside of maybe the one Willie Taggart year or whatever it was, that they kind of got left out of the whole realignment thing. Like early on when they were in the Big East, it felt like they were going to be the UCF and they kind of got passed by. And so, well, they definitely got passed by. They got left behind. But
get rid of Cal and Stanford, and let's bring in
Tulane.
USF and East Carolina.
Tulane. No ECU. Yeah, Tulane first. I want a New Orleans trip.
We don't need another preppy private school that's just gonna we don't need those.
Finally, Michigan at Oklahoma. This is a blue blood matchup. Number 15 Michigan, number 18 Oklahoma. Oklahoma 5.5-point favorites in Norman. Tough one to pick, but I think I'm probably leaning Robert's way here, going Oklahoma and laying the points.
Yep. I trust Mateer in this situation more than a true freshman making his first road start. And while I think Underwood will be a phenomenal player, it's a tall order.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. Like Norman is not friendly to opposing teams, let alone opposing freshman quarterbacks. Mike, what are you doing?
Yeah. It's good. I think it's going to be Oklahoma. But there's just something about what Michigan's got going on. They're going to have Big Noon there too. I think when game day is going to be there, and there's just going to be all of the hoopla. And for some reason, it worked. All the pressure always works in Michigan's favor when they have all the hoopla, and it always works against Oklahoma when all the hoopla is there. So it is. So I would say, I'm sorry. What did you say the spread was?
5.5. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's getting 5.
They're 5.5-point favorites.
Oh man, take Michigan in the point. Yeah.
Okay, so you like it even better now.
Yeah. If Michigan's getting points, I'm taking Michigan in points.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That'll do it, guys. We got Vandy and VT this weekend. Sam and I are going to get into more of that. Mike talked a little bit about it earlier. We all know we need the game real bad. But we're about 2 hours into this thing, and I appreciate you guys for being here with me to help break this stuff down. I had a blast with you all this weekend. Everything the Suns did was setting everything up, and the 2 parties and everything. It was awesome. And one of these days, fellas, we're going to go to these road games and we're going to come home with a goddamn victory. But for right now, it was fun anyway. And I enjoyed the good time. I knew I was going for a good time, and the win would have been a bonus.
Yes, 100%.
All right. And until next time, this has been College Football Monday. Go Hokies.
Go Hokies.